Hey everyone, it's Danielle back with another video, and today it is my December monthly wrap up. So the month of December has come to an end, and Christmas has come to an end, and 2025 has come to an end, and it's time to talk about all of the books that I managed to read during this month. So grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack. Let's get going. So for the month of December, I managed to finish 13 books. I was so excited to get to read that much just because December was crazy busy. We had so much going on at work. I was running or like on the team that ran our primary Christmas concert this year. I had tons of family events, tons of events with friends, tons of things with Josh that I was doing, and just, managing our lives and everything. So I was so happy with the amount of books that I managed to get through. So I'm going to take you through all of the books that I finished, physical, audio, and digital, as well as tell you what points they counted for on our book bingo. I was so excited to play book bingo when we started the month, but I feel like because there were so many events and because there was so much that happened, I kind of towards the middle kind of forgot about the book bingo. And then just by the end of the month I was like, oh yeah, we're still playing that. But I think I did very well for not really paying attention to it. So I'm gonna let you know for each book what the points were, what prompts I used on the book bingo card, and then I will tell you my grand total of points at the end. So if you watched our December TBR videos, you know that this December we competed in something we called the Great Christmas Book Off. And we did that because, well, I made it because we had had so much fun with our Bewitched Book Bingo in October that I really wanted something fun to finish off the year. So the first book that I finished for the book bingo was Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This book is about two people that knew each other back when they were kids. Their moms were in a band together. The main male character is named Beat and the main female character is named Melody. Their moms were in a band together. Beat and Melody end up coming back together due to a producer trying to get their moms to reunite. Their moms had a huge falling out. They decided not to do the band anymore. They had a huge fight, and it was all over a man. There were a little bit of twists and turns that this plot took, but I did not like this book very much. I love a spicy book. I love a bit of smut. The smut in this, not for me. It also was not Christmassy. Did not take it, well, it took place over Christmas, but nothing like really Christmassy was going on, like the typical Christmas events. Nothing was really happening. Beat and Melody were like insta lovers, and like he was a bit stalkery. Like she was trying to put up her walls and her boundaries, and he was like, no, love me, I'm gonna marry you, you're gonna have my babies. And I'm like, ugh. Although I did not like it, it did count for 7 points on the Great Book Off. It counted for Home for the Holidays and Tinsel Tales. So that was the first book that I finished in December. Next, I finished the Christmas Jigsaw Murders by Alexandra Benedict. This book follows Edie as a serial killer is sending her photos of crime scenes after they are killing people in the town that she lives in. And she turns to her nephew, Sean, for help. He is a detective and she is trying to get him to help her. And the whole time I really enjoyed this book. It took a lot of twists and turns, a lot of the plot I did not see coming, so I found it was a great murder mystery, but also there were games that you could play. So on the top of each chapter, there was a puzzle piece with a letter, and at the end of the book, all of the letters came together to spell a famous Christmas song. I will not give it away in case you would like to read this. As well, there was another game that you could play where different Charles Dickens stories were jumbled up into anagrams, and it told you what chapter it was in, but it didn't tell you where in that chapter. I literally took a picture of the answer page, sent it to Trisha, and every time I had a guess of the anagram, I asked Trisha if I got it right. And I got all of them, which I was really, really super proud of myself. And it just kind of made the reading experience like more fun and engaging. So I really loved that. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to say, I rated this 3-star, but I did bump it down to a 2. I rated this a 5-star. So loved it. It also counted for 8 points. It counted for Silent Night, Secret Clues, and Nice List Newbie. So yeah, it was a really great mystery. I recommend it, and I have already made my sister buy it. The next book that I read was a digital book. I read it on my Kindle, and that is The Gift by Freida McFadden. We'll put it up here. I had no idea that Freida McFadden had a short story. Apparently it's based off of the story The Gift of the Magi, and I really liked it. So it follows this woman who on Christmas Eve, she is a waitress and realizes that she doesn't have a lot of money. It is her first Christmas married to her new husband, and she decides she needs to find him the perfect gift. She is working in her diner late at night just before closing, and in comes a very secretive woman, and that woman offers her that she has the perfect gift for her. But that woman's shop is not everything that it seems. And once she returns home with this perfect gift, her husband is not the biggest fan of it and ends up saying something to her that she does not like, and she ends up doing something that we did not see coming. It was a really, really short story. It is a novella, but I really liked it. You know that I love a good Freida McFadden. I rated it a 4-star just because it was so short. And I felt like it could have been a little bit longer. But it did count for Quick as an Elf and Tinseltales for a total of 5 points towards our book bingo. But yeah, I really liked it, and I love Freida and I love her writing style. I just wish it was a little longer. The next book I finished was Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousens. This book takes place over the course of winter, but not necessarily Christmas. So it follows Laura. She works for a lifestyle website, and she works on their romance show, which talks about or interviews people talking about their meet cutes or how they met their significant other. And Laura, hopelessly romantic, would love to have a meet cute. She is worried about the stability of her job, though, and pitches to her boss a story of exploring her family's love story. So her grandparents and her parents had a very similar meeting on this island of Jersey, which is not New Jersey. No, it's Jersey in the United Kingdom, apparently. And so she goes to explore the story of her family's love stories and ends up swapping bags with a guy at the airport. So she ends up taking his bag, he ends up taking her bag, and the entire story is her trying to find this man. I did enjoy this story, not super much, just because I felt like it was very long and it could have ended way sooner than it did. I actually listened to it through audio, and it was in my commuter book for a couple of days, but I did really like who she ended up with at the end of the story. I thought it was pretty well written. I saw it coming, but for a romance book, which I normally don't like contemporary romance, it actually wasn't bad. So I ended up giving it, I think, a 3.5. And for the book bingo, it counted for 6 points, Winter Wonderlust, and Happily Ever After Snowfall. All right, the next two books were probably the hardest books for me to fit onto the book bingo. I got into a part of the month where at the start of the month I was very focused on the book bingo, very focused on reading a lot of Christmas books, very focused on reading a lot of books off of my TBR for December. And then I was just kind of looking for something that could get me through those last couple of days of school as my commuter book before the Christmas break. Everybody was exhausted. It was not a good time. So I went on to Audible. My lovely friend Trisha, who has given me access to her Audible account, and I was looking for Freida McFadden. I was in the mood for Freida, my queen, my love. And so I discovered two of the audiobooks that I had not read yet, which was The Devil Wears Scrubs and Want to Know a Secret. So I'm going to start with The Devil Wears Scrubs because I read that first. So The Devil Wears Scrubs is part of the Dr. Jane series, and it follows Jane, who is a new medical intern, and all of the trials and tribulations that come with that and being on shift. The entire time I was listening to it, was waiting for the ball to drop. Obviously, at this point, I had read 11 Freida McFadden books, and like, Freida always gives me those twists and turns that I need. And I was a little disappointed because this was very different. And I know that now because I did like research a little bit. It is a kind of like different series. I liked it. I didn't love it. I rated it a 3.5 star. It was good for what it was, and like, I've watched the show Grey's Anatomy, which I know is a huge dramatized version of med students, but I would not want to be a medical intern. It does not sound like a fun time, just saying. You know, as a student teacher and everything that goes along with that, I experienced a lot of that stress and wanting to impress the people that you feel like you need to impress with your job, but that's too much stress. Like, basically you could kill somebody if you don't do your job correctly. So I did like it. I didn't love it. And it was a different kind of Freida to explore. I don't know if I'll listen to the second one. There is the second one. I would like to. I don't know if I'm going to. But is the way of the book bingo, like I said, this book and another book were really hard to fit with the book bingo because a lot of the prompts are Christmas themed. But I did manage to rate it for 1 point for Deck the Covers because it has red on the cover. The second book that I had a hard time matching to the book bingo was Want to Know a Secret by Freida McFadden. That follows a small town, well, not small town, but like small group of people living in a gated community who have a lot to do with each other. And they are in each other's lives, and they know what's up, and they know what's going on, and they know everybody's business and everything that everybody is doing. I liked this one. It definitely gave me the twists and turns that I needed and that I didn't see coming, but I don't necessarily know if I loved it. So basically it follows this main lady who's like a YouTube star and makes YouTube cooking videos, and we see her life kind of unfold And basically it turns out that she and her son are psychopaths, and they're trying to blame it on a different family, but there's like this other lady in the neighborhood who she knows what's up. And she's like, "Nuh-uh, girlfriend, I know who you are." And it took a lot of twists and turns at the end, and like the whole plot took a 180. But I don't know if it necessarily shocked me like it has with other Freida McFaddens. Like, I will say, when the book shifted, I was like, oh, like I kind of saw it coming, which I don't love because I never see a Freida twist coming, and I don't like when I see them coming. But it was good. It was okay. Again, a 3.5. Like, it wasn't my favorite Freida McFadden that I've ever read. I could only fit it to one prompt, which was the holiday soiree, because there was events that happened in the book and parties. So it only counted for 1 point. The next book that I read was The Locked Door by Freida McFadden. Again, I love a good Freida. This book follows Nora. She is the daughter of a serial killer. And it has two perspectives of her life, one from the perspective of her life now, and one from the perspective of her life as a kid. This was very creepy, especially the ending in the basement. Very, very creepy. I did end up rating it a 4-star because it scared me just a little bit. But I really, really liked it. Did I rate it a 4-star? No, I think I rated it 4.75. I'm sorry. A 4.75 star. I really, really liked it. I did, like I said, find it a little bit creepy, but I did like the serial killer aspect. I felt like that is something different than what I have read from Freida, where like, you know, the person is a serial killer or related to a serial killer from the get-go. For the book bingo, this did count for 5 points. It counted for Home for the Holidays and Deck the Cover. I actually picked this as my book of the month of December, which was really, really exciting. So, and I also did listen to it on audio. So I think that made it creepier. But yeah. The next book that I read is He Sees You When You're Sleeping by Alta Hensley. And I read this on my Kindle, so we'll insert the cover here. This was a really popular book in December on Book Talk, and I got a lot of recommendations like just on my feed to read it. So that's why I decided to read it. And it's basically about a man and a woman, and she works for a jewelry company. I forget her name, but she works for a jewelry company, but does Twilight as something sexy and seductive and secret. And he already knows that because he is her stalker. He is a firefighter. We will insert their names here because I can't remember their names, but our main female character and our main male character. So our main male character is a firefighter, and the reason that he is stalking her is because he had helped her in a car accident that she had gotten into years and years prior. But like, he's a stalker, but he's more like golden retriever stalker. That's a term that I learned. Like, it wasn't the creepiest stalker vibes that I thought I was getting into. Like, I thought I was getting into like super creepy stalker vibes. It wasn't, and it was actually pretty good. Like, I really, really liked it. I ended up giving it a 5-star. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think that it was better than what I expected, but not what I expected. I liked the writing, and it was a different kind of thriller author that I got to explore other than just Freida McFadden. I love Queen Freida, but it was nice to explore a different author that writes thrillers books, because that's not normally what I read. And I like exploring that. So, oh, and for the book bingo, it counted for Tinseltales and Under the Mistletoe. The next book that I read was Grimoires and Gingerbread. I read this on my Kindle, so we will insert the cover here. This book is a novella, but it is part of the Sugar Shack Witch Mystery series by Danielle Garrett. This was another one that actually TikTok recommended to me. I literally typed in Christmas novellas and this was recommended, and I really liked the cover, so I decided to give it a try. It follows Ella and Orion in the town of Winterspell, where two elves come and say that Santa's grimoire, with all of his secrets to his magic, has been stolen. Orion is a monster hunter. Ella is a witch that lives with her family, who runs the local bakery. They are known to each other from their past. It follows these really quirky characters. I really liked it. I ended up rating it a 5-star. It was super short. It was super funny. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked how it was super funny. The two elves were my favorite characters. They were just a whole quirky set in amongst themselves. I really liked who did it. It was very, very obvious who did it, but I really, really liked it. And my favorite part was when the one elf wrapped the other elf up in ribbons. Her power is the power of ribbons, which I would love. This got me 6 points on the book bingo for holiday magic and quick as an elf. The next book that I read, which was an audiobook, was City of the Lost by Kelley Armstrong, which is book 1 in the Rockton Chronicles. This was a book that Trisha has highly, highly recommended to me. She, for the entirety of 2025, was trying to get me to read Kelley Armstrong. I had read a couple. One of them was our book club book of the month, Finding Mr. Right. And then Trisha was like, no, that's not usually what Kelley Armstrong gives. You need to read or listen to Exit Strategy. So I did. And then I had discovered this series because I actually ended up buying book 2 at somewhere. Like, I think it was one of our book shopping days. And Trisha said, well, on Audible is the Rockton book 1. So I listened to that, and very exciting. I loved it. So it follows Casey, who is a detective, and she and her friend are on the run from her friend's abusive husband. And they go to this city called Rockton. This city is like a safe haven for people that basically need to disappear. Disappear for what reason? We don't know. We don't know everybody's story. And the city of Rockton is in the Canadian Yukon, and it is surrounded by dense forest. Living in that forest are 2 other groups, the settlers and the hostiles. The settlers are people that don't want to leave, but in Rockton you have to leave after 5 years. So they've decided to kind of go on their own, branch out. Then there's the hostiles, who have basically resorted to their primal form for unknown reasons. And the book follows a whole bunch of different storylines and a whole bunch of different characters, and a lot of it has to do with Casey and her sheriff Dalton, Eric Dalton, and Will Anders is the other person. The 3 of them are basically the police force in the city of Rockton, and they are trying to solve whenever a body ends up appearing. There's also a lot of overarching stories that follows from book to book to book to book. I currently just finished the 4th, so stay tuned in my January wrap up. I just finished the 4th one. I am really loving this series. I rated The City of the Lost a 5-star because I loved it. Trisha was right. I needed to get into Kelley, and I'm so glad that I did. And on my book bingo, it counted for 5 points, which was Winter Wanderlust and Snowed In. So I'm really glad that Trisha recommended it to me, because, like I said, I just finished the 4th and probably am starting the 5th book today. next book that I read, I actually got as a Christmas present from my parents, so shout out to them. And that is The Teacher by Freida McFadden. Can you tell I like Freida McFadden? This is like book number 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th Freida that I've talked about. I love Freida. The Teacher. So The Teacher follows Eve. She is a high school math teacher. She is currently going through it with her husband. They are having a lot of marital problems, and that leads his husband to start paying attention to one of his students named Addie. Addie is a girl who is coming back to school after having a scandal last school year with one of her teachers. And the story follows the perspectives of Eve, Addie, and Eve's husband, Nate. Eve's husband, Nate. And we see how these relationships and scandals play out. This book took a massive turn in part 2 and a huge turn at the end of the book that I did not see coming. Honestly, I was reading this in bed, Josh was sleeping, and it was, again, he's always sleeping while I come across twists and turns. And I literally went, but I couldn't say anything because he was sleeping. You would think that I would pick this one as my book of the month. The only reason I didn't is because I cannot with Nate. And I don't want to give it away, but you cannot, I'm an educator. No. I don't think I could rate this book any higher than a 4.5 because I am an educator, and I don't want to give too much away, but because I'm an educator, I don't think that I can actually give this book higher. And that is just me, and you can all have your own opinions about that, but blech. So Nate, you ruined it. I really, really liked this book. It was really, really good. Like I said, I did not see the twists coming. It definitely was reminiscent of The Housemaid when I didn't see the twists in that book coming. And for the book bingo, it got me 4 points for perfect present and small town sparkle. So I wish I could rate it higher, but I can't. And I think I knew going into it because I was a teacher. I was like, oh, I might not like what it gives me. I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so I just realized I went a little bit out of order there. I actually read The Teacher before I read City of the Lost, so I apologize. The City of the Lost and the next 2 books that I'm going to talk about, I actually finished during a readathon. So we ended off the month with the 3 of us participating in our 3rd readathon that we have done together, which is super exciting. We didn't film it because we wanted to just be friends and finish off the year. We also realized that we were all a lot more tired than we were when we did our readathon back in the summer. Trisha and I ended up sleeping more than we did. I mean, we slept for 4 hours, but that was more than we did the last time. Ashley ended up not feeling well and being sick, but which is very sad. But I think we did great for us not really being as energetic. And I finished 3 books. So I finished City of the Lost, and then I finished A Darkness Absolute, which is the 2nd book in the Rockton series. I'm not going to talk too much about that because it is the 2nd book. But like I said, the books all follow kind of like a different plot of finding out who killed somebody in the town. And then there's also the overarching story. So like I said, the city is full of people who are on the run, and nobody in the town except for Dalton knows people's backstories. And even then, he only knows the backstory he's been told. Could be true, could be not true. I really liked A Darkness Absolute. I found it very, very good. I ended up rating it a 4.5. I didn't like it as much as the first book, but it was still pretty good for what it was. And it is by Kelley Armstrong, by the way. And it ended up giving me 6 points, which was Winter Wonderlust and Small Town Sparkle. I'm really glad that I decided to continue with the series. Like I said, I am currently just finished book 4. So I'm really glad that I have still continued with the series. The last book that I read during the readathon we had from December 29th to December 30th. So this was the last book that I read of the year of 2025, and that was The Intruder by Freida McFadden. Might as well finish off the year with a Freida. The Intruder follows Casey, which I've read a lot of books with the main character named Casey. I'm currently reading a book and the main character's name is Casey, so I don't know what's going on with Casey, and they're all spelled differently. It's very funny. It's very funny, actually. But Casey is a lady living in a cabin in the wilderness. She has just lost her job as a teacher, and she is living in a secluded cabin, and on a night of a huge storm, she all of a sudden sees somebody hanging out in her garden shed. She goes out to inspect and investigate and ends up finding a little girl. That little girl she invites in because she's like, oh my gosh, there's literally a child in the middle of a storm. But as with all Freidas, the book and the people are never what they seem. So we see this little girl is somebody who is going through a lot in life at the hands of her mother. She's had a very, very rough life. She is out in the wilderness for a purpose that is not known originally, but ultimately it is to find her savior. I'm not going to say who that is because it would ruin some things. The book does take a huge twist. One that I did not see coming and another that I totally guessed and saw coming. I ended up rating it a 4.75 because it was a little bit on the creepier side. I will say, huge trigger warning. It does discuss a lot about child abuse and OCD and hoarding. So if those are triggers for you, I definitely would not read this book, or definitely read with caution, because it was pretty hard to read some of those scenes, I will say, especially the closet. I rated it a 4.75 because there was a lot that grossed me out about this book, and that's why I didn't pick it for my book of the month, because I might even rate it a little bit lower, like a 4.25 or a 4. Because there was some pretty tough scenes to read that was just like uncomfy. But I still, like, she is my queen. I love Queen Freida. We clock her. But yeah, so on the book bingo, this got me Jingle Bell Giggles and Perfect Present. You would think Jingle Bell Giggles, but there was a lot of like sarcasm used. And I especially loved Casey's character. She was really, really funny. I really liked it. But yeah, it was a really good book to finish off the year. I'm happy that I finished it off with this. Oh, and this was also a gift from Ashley. So thank you, Ashley. so that is all of the books. That is a grand total of 13 books. That is all of the books that I managed to finish in the month of December. And for the book bingo, first of all, as you can see, I did achieve traditional bingo. We went all the way over. I just realized this is not a 5x5. That's crazy. I did not realize that. Huh. Did anybody else realize that? This is not a 5x5 grid. Interesting. Anyway, so I did achieve traditional bingo, and I didn't fill up all of the spaces, and I didn't fill up all the spaces that I wanted, but I filled up a majority of them, and I'm really happy with that. So with all of that added together, I don't know if you were adding as we were going, but that is a grand total of 63 points. Woo! Woo! Shockingly, we do not know what each other has gotten. We haven't really talked about it since December finished. So I'm really excited to, right after this, text Trisha and Ashley and see how many points they ended up with. But yeah, I'm really happy with how my reading went in December and in the month of 2025. The year of 2025, I'm really happy with this booktube journey that we've started. And I cannot wait to create more content in 2026. So as always, I hope you are having a fantastical time reading, and I hope the new year is off to a good start for you. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Bye!